Welcome to Read Us Out, a collection of performances of real-life stories and readings of creative writing.
Celebrating LGBTQ plus people's lives and experiences are performed using the Hear Us Out technique, where the performer wears headphones and presents the story as they hear it.
The pieces of creative writing address some of the themes of the project or were written in response to the real-life stories. We hope you enjoy our collection. So, anyway, Christine and me had been together for a few months, hadn't we, Christine? And my daughter was at sea. So I said to Christine, I've got to tell Maggie when she comes home. If we're going to be together, I've got to tell her. So Christine said, no, you don't have to tell her. I said, yes, I do have to tell her. So anyway, I'm not a great drinker. I don't drink a lot. And so anyway, I got a bottle of wine and my daughter had gone off out. She was home on leave and I was sitting in the kitchen on my stool with my bottle of wine. And I think I must have drunk about half of it when she came in the back door. And so she looked at the bottle of wine and me smoking away at my fags and everything. And I said, I've got to tell you something. So she said, well, what is it, So I had a little cry, obviously. And because the chances was she would have turned against me completely. And what chance did I take? Did I want to stay with Christine? Or did I want to lose my daughter? So I thought, well, she's on her way in life, and now this is my time. So anyway, I said, I've got to tell you something. So I told her about Christine and me, and poured myself another drink. And she put her arm around me and she said, thank God for that one, because I thought she was going to tell me who was alcoholic. And so, I was so chuffed because, there was me bringing up my daughter who was well on her way in life and her career to be at sea. But the chances was if I hadn't have brought her up to accept everybody, would she have turned against me? And there I was thinking, am I going to lose my kid that I would cut my right arm off for? Or was I going to take a chance and tell her about Christine? And I thought, I needed the half a bottle of wine to tell her. So anyway, it came out good because she thinks the world of Christine. And her daughter calls her grandma. So, she's completely accepting of Christine. In fact, she takes her part more than mine. Well, anyway, so we told us we were going to have a civil partnership. And so her and her partner come down into the sitting room. And I said, wait, let's get a taxi. We'll all travel together to the registrar. And anyway, so the curtains were closed. And I said to Christine, why she closed the curtains? She said, oh, I don't know. So I said, anyway, is the taxi waiting? She said, no, we're going to go and call her. We're going to go outside and call one. And I said, no, we're going to be late. Anyway, so she said, so we walked outside, and she said, we'll go out and wait for the taxi outside. And across the road was this pink Rolls Royce with the chauffeur. And she said, that's your wedding present, you're not getting nothing else. So we got in the Rolls Royce, they followed by taxi car, and we went all along the seafront in this pink Rolls Royce, me waving like the Queen to people. I was waving out the window to everybody. I said, we're getting married today.
This piece is written in response to the story of an older woman coming out to her daughter as being in a same-sex relationship in later life, and it's called A Child's Response. When my mum and dad sat me down at the kitchen table and said they were getting divorced, I thought, thank God. No more silences, no more, tell your mum this, tell your dad that. Dad moved in with a skinny blonde who ran a pet shop, and I lived in fear of Mum saying, "Come and meet your new dad," and some slimy bloke trying to worm his way into my affections, or worse. One day, I came home from school and there was a stocky ginger woman in our kitchen, rummaging through the cutlery drawer. She gave me a frightened look and said, "Your mum's just gone to get some pork luncheon meat." She said her name was Mo and she was a friend of Mum's, but I didn't trust her because we were vegetarian. She made me a cup of tea and asked a load of questions about whether I preferred maths or PE, as if I was 5, not 15. But all I could concentrate on was the big round cat's face with glittery eyes and velvet nose staring at me from her jumper. Mum came back from the shops with a massive packet of bog roll, and when she saw the two of us, she was so flustered and red-faced I thought, Mo isn't a friend, but some lunatic conwoman who's broken in. Their eyes flickered, and for just a second they met in perfect stillness, like a butterfly landing on a rose. "That's gross," I said to myself. I got used to Mo sitting in the lounge watching detective series with Mum. Some of the time she'd take my side in arguments and Mum's nose would twitch, but she'd say nothing. Mo bought an ice cream maker and she'd make these amazing hot chocolate sundaes. She could knit a pair of socks in a couple of hours. I never liked her jumpers though. She had one with a kind of pixelated Bambi on, and she offered to make me one. I said I was allergic to wool. It took Mum another 6 years to pluck up the courage to tell me. She sat me down at the kitchen table, and I could smell the wine and fags on her breath. And her eyes were jumping all over the place. I gave her a hug and pretended to be surprised. How could I have done otherwise?
Over 30 years ago, I fell in love with my soulmate. While education, politics, and the UK in general were in the throes of rampant homophobia, Section 28, and the AIDS epidemic. Our lives imploded, and the universe changed for us and has continued to do so. The moon. Never a dull moment. Not with you. Always had the edge of being totally taken over. Rarely just me. But I love the challenge of us. Mostly understood. Sometimes just to take a guess, analysing our process. It's bound to be new to share our tapestry. They say that a blue moon happens every 150 years or so. It was literally true the day I saw you, and it actually did happen last month. It shone huge and hung over the house across the road. Magic. There is always disturbance in the universe. Like when we fell in love, both our worlds fell into arms, held out willingly. Why not kiss and keep the feeling always? Not kidding, just honestly. It couldn't be more meaningful touching you, touching me. We became a different kin. Now, grandchildren have sprouted into a universal crop. So we have another emotional journey. Hope beats loud in the hearts of our families, old and new. All that's needed to be in the game, balancing who we are to survive changes, dying and living for the future. Feeling at home again on a very new street. our creative family in our parts, diverse colours, races, religions, sexualities, challenged. What used to be unacceptable so many years ago. Revolutionary, evolution. So ordinarily LGBTQ+. Our roots go deeply into our lives, our generations. A huge moon is shining. So close and so far away. We risked it. It happened. We let it shine.
Some years ago, I drafted a sequence of sonnets that had a gay theme. And the most successful one at readings has been one called Coming Out, which reflects on my time in the closet as a gay city lawyer. Coming out. I didn't hang upside down from a branch and weave a chrysalis from which in due time I'd emerge with radiant wings. No staged life cycle drove me instinctively from the buried seed's dark urge to the reaching stalk and the folded bud. And yet, I thought I grew. I drafted contracts, spent long hours in boardrooms, sleek in a tailored suit, impeccable as each honed argument. My evening visits to dingy pubs, the men brought home and loved for an hour, the others kissed in backstreet saunas, were all screened from sight. Then I fell in love. The wall collapsed between my different selves. Cramped muscles were replaced with wings that quivered in the healing light.
The March. Something that I found very mind-blowing when I was younger was going on the first ever lesbian and gay Pride March. And just to be surrounded by so many women, all the same, all trying to fight for the cause, trying to sort things out in their own way. By holding a banner, walking down the street, having everyone stare at you. It was the craziest idea I have ever been involved in at that time. But well worth it. Lifelong memories they are. So that you can pass on all that fight to up-and-coming gay women and men in the future generations. If they let you do it, that is. And when we was on the Gay Pride March, once we got to where we was all rallying from, we were given phone numbers for solicitors and barristers, in case we get arrested on the march, or if there's any trouble, we've got someone to contact. First time that's ever happened to me, when I've been on any sort of demonstration. And they were quite weird, very weird, but every single woman had a phone number written on her arm. There was no men on the march at all, only women. The only men that were there were alternate police officers, man, woman, 1981. But it certainly stopped traffic, certainly did. So much so that it was on the 10 o'clock news that night. Which was a bit of a downer because I'd actually got the day off work, and I shouldn't have done. I told them I was sick. No, I didn't actually. I said I was going to a wedding, and I created and stamped and shook and swore at them until I got the day off. And then I was on the 10 o'clock news, so the next day, when I went to work, I was not very popular. There you go. These things happen, don't they? But it was very nice to be able to walk down the street and see men and women of the same sex, well, of all different combinations, holding hands and having a cuddle and a kiss and a laugh, being comfortable in their own environment, which we never used to be able to do. Because if I walked through my local town, holding my girlfriend's hand, we used to get dog shit thrown at us. We used to get anything they had in their hand, cans of beer, anything. And such a lot of abuse. And we'd get followed round the town. It was really uncomfortable. But because people, not just me, but people of my age and before, actually stood up to be counted, you've got today's gay community that can live in fairly comfortable times and be accepted in their family.
So this poem was inspired by the queer poet Dean Atta, and it was also inspired by thinking about LGBTQI+ people being more than just a label. We're far more complex as individuals than one word can describe us. So what it's like to be a dyke. It's being a daughter, granddaughter, sister or niece. It's working hard to make a living and a difference. It's playing softball with friends in the park on a warm Sunday afternoon. It's enjoying the greatest city in the world, London. It's seizing every opportunity. It's striving always to reach full potential. It's politicking, demonstrating, marching proudly. It's drinking, socialising, snogging, shagging, fancying women. It's being 1 in 10 or 7 or several. It's being 1 in 7 billion. Thank you.
The following poem is based on personal experience. It was important to write and perform because as LGBTQ+ people, we often find ourselves outside traditional narratives when it comes to love and relationships. Homecoming. Coming back, a train caught fire yet, despite the delay, the rusty railway tracks steer me right to the striped snugness of your shirt, familiar as gingerbread and chai latte, Preston Park Station sweet, dewy remnants of a green spring day kiss, eyes made of happiness, a hand with the luggage. It's surprising, it is a first, to find you, someone waiting for me, and despite the fatigue, the limping, lead-heavy suitcase is carried to yours mostly by me, unwilling to let you suffer the load of my absence anymore, relieving both of us at that of other burdensome things such as our clothes as soon as we find ourselves alone. The trains trundle on outside beyond your bedroom window, and despite the rushed, borrowed, short time in our hands, the weeks apart collapse as we fold within the comfort of each other's skin, cursed with ceaseless separation as our relationship is, blessed with methodical margins of intimacy as the hours of the senses which succeed our coupling. Your love and flesh is my transient, constant home.
Pea flying. I wrote this piece for my partner. It celebrates her journey from motorbike racing young man to elegant older woman, showing her courage and strength to find her own path. P flying. P, beautiful boy, where did you go in your dreams? A young boy, slightly built, dark hair, fine features. You bought your big vans, your fast motorbikes, and raced, rebuilding those bikes, long fingers, sensitive mechanics' hands, during the week, and raced again on a Sunday. Fast, faster, cornering as low and fast and swift as you can and being ahead. Can't catch me. And the skin-tight leathers with your boy name stitched over your heart. Peter Pan flying through the air, falling. Earth, sky, earth. You said once when you were nearly asleep, never stand up. Always remember until you have stopped falling. Motorbike racing folklore. Little Pete, Peter Pan looking for Neverland, envious of Tinkerbell's wings, although you had your own, you could fly. Deep, dark, secret, hidden under all that leather. You were born a girl in a boy's body. Peter after your dad. Just spell it with an A. Greek girl, Peter, P-E-T-A. Pia, Petra. And finally, Penelope.
One of my great joys when I first moved to Brighton was when a trip to Canada. I went to Canada, I was very lucky. And in 1992, I think, very early days. I'd never been abroad before. I went to Canada and had a lovely fling with a skater and hockey player. He had the most beautiful man. I was my early 20s. He was same age, great big Canadian blonde thing with the most amazing ass and thighs from his hockey playing, ice hockey. And he had a pair of rollerblades which I'd never seen before. They'd just been imported from Italy. Nobody had them. They were specially designed for hockey players to use in the winter. And I remember lying in the sunshine in Toronto, look at this monumental thighs and ass. He had such a powerful man, beautiful man, thinking, I want to be like that. I want to be like that. So he kind of let me use his skates, and I was all over the place, and I came back to England and I saved up really hard and I bought myself a pair of skates. Well, £500 in the early 90s, which is probably a couple of £1,000 today. It was a very big investment. I had them imported, specially. They were amazing. I couldn't skate. I would go down to the marina, and at night there's a great big empty car park, and I'd skate in the dark through the winter, and I fell and I fell and I fell. And eventually I learnt to skate, and I struggled because I really wanted to. I think for me it was about when you're young and queer, sports kind of closed off from you, and skating made me very strong. I could be as camp as I wanted to be, exquisitely elegant. There's a place, I've skated now for 30 odd years. I still skate regularly. I'm still really camp, and I love it because it allows me twirling and spinning and leaping and jumping. It allows me to be completely myself. Of course, now I'm a 55-year-old homo on my skates. I'm still really powerful, but I'm still really camp. And it's really interesting when you're with younger skaters who are still a bit macho. They'll do scraping and jumping, and I'll just do a great big leap or a little twirl, and I like it because it's about being, that's the essence of me, the skating thing. But the first time I went out skating on my own, I'd been down the marina, shamefully skating in the dark, months and months and months in the winter, and then the wind dropped, and I skated out to Hove for the first time, and I was mortified because everybody was looking at me. I was the only person on skates. Skating was for kids in those days, and nobody else had them. And I got down to Hove and a fret came in. Must have been April, fret, one of those cold, damp fogs, and it closed over Hove, promenade, and I skated round circles thinking, is this really what I want? I feel kind of a fool, sort of insecurities, silliness. I don't know where it was coming from. It was the way people were looking at me. Anyway, through the fog came this noise, and this little boy in his 70s came past on aluminium skates that kind of expanded in a suit with a lit-up bow tie. A perfect Brighton moment, and I was sitting on Hove Promenade on one of those green benches, and I skated towards him, and he introduced himself, and he was an ex-Albion player. He's been dead a long time now. His wife had died, and he was a Christian, and when his wife died, he decided to keep himself fit by skating. And I met him for about an hour or so, and we talked, and he showed me a bit how to turn in circles, and I suddenly thought, if he, an ex-footballing heterosexual Christian, can do it in a suit and bow tie, sure as damn I can. And he, the least likely person, gave me strength to become the skating I had, yeah. I met him a couple of times since, well, before he passed on. And I always used to skate with him. And I remember that moment, the unlikeness of it, Brighton, and the people you don't think have got anything to give you something. Yes, and the skating throughout my life has given me my health, and met most of my partners through skating. Skating has been for me a space where I've been allowed to be purely myself in a physical way, which isn't very possible in a lot of spaces, and free to explore in a way I'm not connected to the ground, I'm not pedestrian in a very literal way. And I've skated naked across Golden Gate Bridge and in full drag through Paris. I've had extraordinary experiences because of my wheels. But I remember him and that afternoon in the fog being a moment when Brighton transformed me. And as the voice said, if you want to be like that, you can be. It's only you that's stopping you. And I still, when I skate down in Hove, I sometimes think of him, I wonder what happened to him. Hopefully he went to heaven, found his wife. That was what he really wanted. Yes, it was really sweet.
Hello, this is a poem about ageing, reflecting on the stages of our lives, what we go through, how we move. Different experiences, lives lived. Okay, ageing. So, are we such an LGBT stereotype now? We've been in it a long time. We probably both had it. Maybe it would be a good thing. Touch of new skin, just for the feeling that maybe we still could, or wouldn't need to change things, just a moment to refresh. And then back to where we were. Renewed. Yeah, just renewed. And on we go. Yeah, right. Really? No, really? How could you keep it the same? Not lose what you have? Fuck knows. Who knows? Not me anymore. A bit of healthy denial. Or just a leap for change. I can't. I'm just too fucking tired. These days, they say the ages of life are teens, fumbling, intense and slippy. 20s, oh my god, it's all about the sex. 30s, a house or a business. 40s, huge overdraft. 50s, dentistry you can't afford. Oh my god. 60s, I don't give a shit now. 70s, replacement hip if they're still in the NHS. Who knows?
I wrote this piece in response to listening to a wonderful real-life story about a group of lesbians celebrating a 60th birthday. It's a speech given by one of the women at the party. Well, my darling, I don't need to remind you that we have known each other for 40 years. That might make you and me sound old, heaven forbid. And we're only as old or young as we feel. We sure have lived a bit though, haven't we? I remember the first time we got together at the Red Lion in Islington. You were wearing those black dungarees and you were so gorgeous. And that mass of shiny red hair, your glorious mane. I couldn't take my eyes off you. And later that evening I got what I wanted, and we did dance together. And then we went home to my flat and we went to bed and didn't get up again until Monday morning. I promised I wouldn't get soppy tonight, but, well, I'm feeling emotional because it's your special 60th birthday. And I have known and loved you since we were both lasses, and I still love you now. Our friendship is one of the most important things that's kept me going through the tough times. And I know that's true for all of us round this table. So, thank you, darling, and here's to you and many more years of friendship.
Hello, this is Pasha West. During the long preparations for the creation of Hear Us Out, at one stage we were asked to produce a piece of creative writing. And what came out of me was a poem, which I didn't fully understand why it fitted into the programme till I came to the end. And I saw that what it was about is about coming out of the fear, the box we put ourselves in, into freedom. But also because I'm a long-term meditator, I wanted to go deeper than that again, into the sense of freedom for the kind of core of me. And this is what came out. And this poem is called The Horse. In the eye of my dreams, I look into the eyes of a fine, strong horse, shining deep with life of wonder, animal force, clear and strong, knowing who she is, because she is all she is. And within me arises longing for the horse I used to be, or will be, or am. So I abandon being human, the cage that it is, that I love for its mind, which traps me with that love, and, relieved, enter into the horse of me. I roll my eyes and begin to run along the wide flat sands where dreams and life waver between ocean and shore, strong and fast and free, my muscled horse body flying along the edge of dreams on the beach of my life that seems so real until I let go into the racing sea ecstasy of my pulsing horse heart. And on we fly.